Steve Gamache here with another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review, and what we're looking at this time is the Karaku Aogami Super Kudauchi Bunka 165mm knife. As mentioned, the core steel in this line is Aogami or Blue Paper Super reactive high carbon steel from Hitachi, known for its good combination of pretty high edge retention yet reasonable sharpening characteristics that you'll find a lot of carbon steels. So heat treats about 62 Rockwell on that, so they've taken a moderately conservative approach for some forgiveness on the core steel, because you will find some makers take Aogami Super to pretty high hardness levels. The construction is a 3-layer sandwich with soft iron cladding on either side of that Aogami Super core, that AS core, so there's your core steel showing through. And it also has a Kudauchi or blacksmith finish on top of that, and I believe it's got a lacquer finish on top of that for some added corrosion protection while that lasts. The weight on the knife, these are light. The weight on this knife is 3.7 ounces or 105 grams, and edge length is right about 171. These will vary a little bit from knife to knife, but this one's got a little extra, 6.75 inches. Overall length about 310 millimeters, a little over a foot. And the spine thickness on these will vary a little bit. This one's about 2.7 millimeters wide at above the back of the blade, and then it thins out a fair amount off of that, and then kind of holds that as we hit the kind of tanto point, reverse sword point, and thins out pretty thin at the very, very tip with the grind. Height is about 47.3 millimeters at the back of the blade, and the handle's nothing fancy. It's a D-shaped basic hoe wood with a plastic resin ferrule. You do have a little bit of a step between the wood and the plastic ferrule. You can feel that there. That's pretty standard on these handles. You could sand that down if you want. A lot of people do, or not, whatever your preference. You do have a little bit of an area to accommodate a pinch grip here. And Mark brought this line in as a way for people to get into an Aogami Super knife at a lower price point. So you're going to give up a little bit on the fit and finish on these sometimes, but you get a really nice steel in return. So that's the purpose of this line. And here is a close-up look at the blade. So you've got some embossed kanji and logo and Karaku name on it. You can see your core steel showing through right at the edge. You've also got some embossed kanji on the other side as well. So fit and finish is pretty good, but it can be a little on the rustic side. The spine actually has been relieved a little bit. The curve on the choil, it's been relieved too, but it's fairly rough grinding marks on there. But they've taken the edge off the edges a little bit, so you might be able to clean that up a little more if you wanted to, but I think it's pretty usable right out of the box. Out of the box edge, I'll give it 5, maybe 6 out of 10. They've got a pretty nicely ground edge on there for a standard factory knife, and although, of course, you can get it a whole lot sharper than that. The edge, or I should say the grind, is ground pretty thin at the edge. So these are not slouches in the performance department. They put the money where it counts in the grinds and the steel. Again, the handle's nothing real fancy. Balance point, the handles are a little bit on the thin side, about 68 millimeters, so it's a little bit smaller right here where the ferrule meets the wood. So that's a really light handle, so that does bring the balance point back up a little bit towards the front of the blade, which is just slightly behind a pinch grip, so this is a very, very nimble blade. Let's look at it on our cutting board and see what we get. So while I'm doing this, I might reinforce once again the cladding is soft iron and the steel is reactive, so there's no stainless here. These are all reactive knife. Here is your profile. So this one has a little bit of a flat towards the heel, then a fairly aggressive belly towards the front half of the blade, as you can see. And that lets me get about right there before I start digging the tip in. So it'll rock pretty nicely. Not a whole lot of flat spot, a little bit towards the back of the blade. Definitely kind of strong for rocking and push-pull motions with some movement to your strokes instead of just straight up and down. But again, this blade is light, nimble, it's kind of thin. Does have a little bit of flex to it, but kind of what you would expect for something that thin. So there you have a high value line with a nice core steel. If you want to get into an Aogami Super, this might be a good knife for you. Here we have the Karaku Aogami Super Kurauchi Bunka 165mm knife.